welcome to this new episode of Continuum Gaming, this time around in English as you may already have noticed, and today we are going to talk about not Sweet games again, but today about the Sony Xperia 10 Mark III, which is now supported by SailfishOS. And Jolla just announced the full support. That means that you can run Android apps and stuff like that if you are buying the Pro version or the full version of SailfishOS then. And they are going to give you support for that, and of course this is the new smartphone you can buy at the moment, which is officially supported by it. As you all know, I am currently using an Xperia 10 Mark II at the moment. So this is my SailfishOS device, which was the newest one till that one came out. That is more or less one of the bigger problems that alternative mobile systems or operation systems do have. So they need a little bit of time to more or less get everything running on a new smartphone that is created. And in general, that's about something around 1 year that takes more or less adaptation of the new hardware and stuff like that to do that in a reasonable way at least. And so the Sony Xperia Mark 10 or the Sony Xperia 10 Mark III this time way around is of course not the newest smartphone around anymore, but still the newest one of the 10 series. There is going to be a fourth one. Mark IV is already in the making, as we know, but at the moment this is the newest smartphone you can buy for SailfishOS with official support. And the cool thing about all that is that brings a lot of different other features with it. So at the moment it's not available for the Sony Xperia 10 Mark II, for instance, voice over LTE. That means 4G voice calls. Nothing to do with data transition or something or something like that, because that is already supported for a long time now. But the problem about the LTE, voice over LTE stuff is that currently the smartphones for SailfishOS are only supporting 3G or voice over 3G. I'm not sure what the name for that is then. But in the end, it's using the 3G network to communicate the stuff, and if that is not available, it's going to go and use the 2G network for that. And the problem is that many different, one sec, there we are, many different, more or less, companies who are giving you mobile standard and mobile tariffs are going to get rid of 3G for 4G. And it's already in the making. It's probably going to be more or less finished till the end of the year or something like that. It depends who you are asking for, but in the end what we know is that there is going to be a 3G decline over time, and we already know that and we already feel that, and because of that the voice quality wasn't the best one in some situations. And so the great thing about that is that the new Xperia 10 Mark III announcement here is also giving us a couple of different more parts or more additional features, which for instance is voice over LTE support for at least the Mark 10, damn, I don't get that name right? The Xperia 10 Mark III one. And probably it's going to be ported to the other device too, so at least the Xperia 10 Mark II will support that too. Still, I'm still thinking that maybe I'm getting that because I just like the smartphone. Because the cool thing about the new smartphone is it looks and feels more or less the same like the Lumia, not the Lumia, the Xperia 10 Mark II in this case. But the great thing about it is that it seems to be much faster. So not exactly the hardware itself is faster too, but the more or less the support for it or SailfishOS seems to be much better running on the system. One thing that is a little bit worse, whatever worse. I wouldn't say it's really hard to cope with, because it's really just 0.1 millimeters in difference from the height or the thickness of the smartphone, so that's not really a problem. The great thing about that is that you get a larger battery, so more battery life. You get, for instance, a faster mobile CPU and GPU, and this seems to make a really big difference, for instance, for the browser. If you have a look at that, we have now one of the Octane 2 benchmarks running here, which seems like it's jumping from about 6,700 to about 16,000 points, which is really a big improvement. And yeah, so it's more or less same with another benchmark they are running there. So this the browser is a lot smoother and a lot faster on these devices. Not that I'm very unhappy with mine, so it's fine to work with, and especially compared to the very old Edge browser on the Lumia 950 XL I'm currently showing you that on. It's really much faster than that. But in any way, and of course more important, it supports more features, because it's a Firefox engine on SailfishOS, and the Firefox engine, the Gecko engine more or less, is much more advanced than the old one from Edge. So in the end, it's still a very big upgrade if you're doing that. But with these kinds of numbers, I'm pretty curious how fast they are going to be. So maybe, I'm not sure, but maybe I'm going to use the new smartphone too. If you want to know what that means, for instance, you can have a look at this image, which is, of course, takes these with a little bit of salt, because they are, of course, from the official announcement and stuff like that. But I think Jolla is really not doing too much, like, for instance, Nvidia or AMD or someone would do in this case. So not really cherry picking that much. But in the end, as you can see, we have one of the benchmarks running at the background, and this is more or less frame dips. That means that the FPS counter is going to drop below a certain kind of amount, which is much below the average, which is already running there. And as you can see, those red lines here, so this is not some kind of a graphical issue or something with the smartphone, it's really just showing you an FPS counter or FPS frame dip more or less. And the more red lines and long lines you see, the worse. So those are more or less stutters or something like that. And as you can see, this is with the Xperia 10 Mark II. The Xperia 10 Mark III seems to be close to stutter free, so there's no red lines in this benchmark, of course. Again, take this with salt, I didn't test it myself, but in the end, very interesting. If they really got it that much faster, then well done, I would say. Okay, so let's have a look. Additional to that, that's very interesting, they got the battery to live longer too, and more or less everything on the smartphone itself is a little bit improved, but the optic of it, so the smartphone itself, seems to be more or less the same. I'm going to get it out of my cover here, and as you can see, this is more or less a smartphone. The Sony Xperia 10 Mark II in this case, and it seems to be pretty much the same with compared to the Xperia 10 Mark III, but has bigger battery life, or better battery life, has a faster CPU in it, a faster GPU in it, all the different other stuff, so something like headphone jacks, and the dual SIM support and stuff like that, and the SD card support, and of course the USB-C part and so on are the same. So in the end it's more or less the same, but a little bit thicker, but really just a very small amount. Seems like the material is the same too, but you can buy it in different colors now too. So if you want to get it in, I think there's blue. Let's see if there's an image of that. Nope, not at the moment. But oh yeah, here you can get it in a bluish kind of way. You can get it in a rosé kind of way, whatever. You can get it so violet or something. You can get it in black, in white, and those two colors. So if you want to have another color there, you are able to do that, get that. And in the end, I think it's a pretty nice thing. But just to let you know, at the moment, not everything is supported on the new smartphone. So, for instance, if you are, you can see that we have a just to let you know, 6 GB of RAM instead of 4 for this smartphone. So the new one has 6 GB of RAM too. Very interesting too. You don't really need that much, but in the end I didn't run into any kind of issues till now with my Sony Xperia 10 Mark II, because we are not talking about Android here. Android would probably be very, very bad with 4 GB of RAM, but with or at least not very, very smooth. But for SailfishOS, 4 GB of RAM is pretty much, it's pretty much. And in the end, so that would be fine to run with, but more is better, so why not? And seems like it's really a nice thing to have. Just to show you that, this is my cover I'm using at the moment for my smartphone here. I'm pretty happy with it, so it's really a nice one. It really fits perfectly. It looks very, very nice and feels pretty nice. If you want to have a look at that, please have a look at the description box below. There are informations about this one too. I'm not sponsored or something, just to let you know. I'm not sponsored by anybody, so I'm doing this for free and for fun. But in the end, as you can see, we got a lot of different positives on the smartphone side, but there is 1 or 2 worse things, or bad things, not worse. The smartphone before is just better supported for certain kind of features, because those are not yet rolled out, but they are going to come. And in the end, as you can see, we got 25% larger battery, so 4,500 milliamperes. Compared to 3,600 milliampere hours. And the interesting thing about that is that it's not only giving you 25% longer battery life, but something like 60%, so 58% longer battery life, which is pretty amazing, especially since I don't have any kind of problems with the battery life of this smartphone already. So it's really giving me, I would say, something like 2 days or so of one battery charge, so pretty nice. But in the end, this is increasing that even more, so very, very interesting and well done, Jolla, I would say. And as you can see, voice over LTE is still in beta, but you can already use it if you want to. You have to enable it if you want to try it out, but very interesting for me too, because that is one of the worst things I have with the smartphone. It has really not the greatest quality, especially the greatest quality of speech, of course. Not the build quality or something. That's really great. Just the speech or the voice quality isn't on par with some other devices, especially not with my Lumia 950 XL, which has a great speaking quality and still has. And whatever, that would be a great addition if that could come to every smartphone, so that at least the Xperia 10 Mark II and 3 might be in there, because it has to be the 64-bit versions of SailfishOS, and it's probably not going to come to the older versions. But those two run more or less the same, so it should be very, very interesting and very nice to work with. And one thing that isn't working at the moment, as you can see, is more or less that the back-facing cameras, so the 3 cameras we see here, only one is working at the moment, but that will be changed in future, because for the Lumia again, not the Lumia 950 XL. I'm just accustomed to that name that much. I'm talking about the Xperia 10 Mark II. I'm holding it in my hand at the moment. That has 3 cameras, and those are accessible already and can be used and really switched around and stuff like that. Not only by the by the great advanced camera, which is an external app by a third-party developer, but we are talking about the official one too, which supports the 3 cameras already, and did for a very long time already. And as you can see, seems like that is not at the moment the case for this release, but we are going to have one in future, probably just in 1 or 2 months, I'm not sure, where that is going to be more or less brought to the Xperia 10 Mark III II, with SailfishOS of course. Yeah, and this is more or less what that is going to use there. There's a couple of different other things that are updated. For instance, there's a GPS update, so it should be faster. Since I more or less installed everything that is needed for that to the device by hand, so you could do it manually before, but now you don't have to. It's already inbuilt now, and I did it by hand. I didn't have any bigger kind of problems with that, so it's fine for me. But anyway, it's a very interesting release, especially with the performance and the hardware adaptation they did there. That seems to be much better than the one with the Xperia 10 Mark III. So any kind of micro stutter or something like that should be heavily decreased. I'm not that much affected by that, so if I'm using something, I don't have a bigger problem with any kind of micro stutters. But for those who are affected by that and who don't like that much, it should be much finer. I'm really not sure what people are talking about. It's working fine for me, but whatever. If you have, just to let you know, if you have, for instance, Xperia 10 Mark II, you can get rid of, for instance, the transparency in the operation system for many things at least, and that seems to increase the performance a lot. So if you are one that is experiencing microstutters and you are really annoyed by them or something, I will link you another video, probably there or in the description box below, where you can have a look at that and more or less try to get rid of a lot of those speed issues there. As mentioned before, I never experienced them that much, so I'm pretty happy with the speed of my smartphone. Of course, sometimes there is something where it's going to sync a little, so 1 second or something before it's going to do anything, but that's normal for a smartphone that is running for a couple of months or something. Then you just have to cope with something like that in some situations. But again, it's really not a big problem for me. I can't say that I have any kind of speed issues, but still, I'm just happy to see that this is that much smoother. I'm very happy to see that we see those voice over LTE, so that we get 4G speaking or voice transition there. And so it's really a very interesting release we got here. And so thank you very much for this great update and the great possibility to have another smartphone here with SailfishOS officially supported on it. And so I'm pretty sure that I'm going to get that, and maybe I'm going to try to more or less do a comparison video between those 2 smartphones then. Let's see if I'm going to do that, but probably if I'm going to get that smartphone, that will be on this channel in future. So I would say thank you for listening, thank you for watching, hope you had a great time. So if you want to read it by yourself, please have a look at the description box below. I'm going to put the article there too, so if you want to read that, read it there. And in the end, I really like this update they got there. The new smartphone seems to be a pretty nice one, especially with the speed updates and of course the battery life and of course voice over LTE. And those features are really something I really I am eager to try them out, I have to say. So thank you for watching, thank you for listening, have a great time, have a great day. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up of course, And yeah, if you didn't subscribe to the channel till now, please do that now. It's a button down below. You don't have to pay anything for that, but it's helping the channel a lot. And other than that, thank you for watching, thank you for listening. Don't forget the commentary section if you want to talk about something. I'm trying to answer everything I can. And then have a great time. Till the next time, and bye.